Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. We'll be getting started here shortly, just allowing a couple more folks to kind of trickle in here. So give us just a few moments and we'll be kicking off momentarily. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. For those of y'all just joining us, I want to welcome you to today's webinar. We're going to be getting started just about a minute after the top of the hour here. I want to give everyone appropriate time to get logged in here and get all set up, get your coffee ready. So we'll be getting started here momentarily. Thanks for joining. All right. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, depending on where you're at. My name is Dan Hawkins, and I'm Director of Sales and Marketing here at ThingTech. I'd like to, first and foremost, welcome you all to today's webinar. We sincerely appreciate you taking some time out of your day to spend with us. The topic of today's webinar is Salesforce and IoT. So how to combine and extend Salesforce and the IoT for maximum field service mobility. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we do get started today. First and foremost, if you're joining us for today's webinar live, your lines have been muted. We do encourage you to ask questions throughout the session, and you can find a very helpful tool within the GoToMeeting application to submit those questions directly to us. Or if you want to use the chat functionality within GoToMeeting as well, we'll be addressing those questions as they come up. So certainly submit your questions. We'll have some time towards the end of the meeting where we can go through those and ask those and address those questions. The second item is today's meeting is being recorded. So if you can't stay for the entire meeting today or find it interesting enough that you want to distribute to some of your friends or colleagues, we'll be sending out recordings of this webinar as well as posting those to our website at a later date. So stay tuned for that. We'll be distributing that after today's meeting as well. So again, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to today's webinar. Real quick, before we get started, I do want to do a quick introduction of our host, Tim Quinn, who is the CEO and co-founder of ThingTech. Tim has over 20 years of experience in deploying real-time asset management and connected device solutions. Prior to ThingTech, Tim helped found and served as the primary executive for a major player in the transportation and field service space with a transportation software company based here in Atlanta that was able to grow to over 1,000 customers worldwide and was very, very successful. Tim and ThingTech's other co-founder, Brian Corcoran, ultimately founded ThingTech by leveraging some of the common concepts that we developed during our time in the transportation space and applying those to a real-time connected IoT application. So very happy to have Tim as our host for today's call. He's a wealth of knowledge and definitely excited to learn from him today. Just a little bit of background before we kind of dive in here. So ThingTech provides an extensible platform as a service for Salesforce that really combines the real-time capabilities of an IoT platform, such as data collection, analytics, predictive and prognostic analysis, and the capabilities of a geospatial IoT application with the capabilities of a field service automation tool to help companies primarily in the field service or field sales space improve operations and ultimately provide delightful customer experiences to their customers every single time. When we work with customers in the field sales and field service space, we hear some commonalities and common challenges within those organizations. And those challenges kind of boil down to 4 different areas, which we call the VAMP problem. And those are challenges with visibility, accountability, measurability, and performance. So by extending Salesforce's native capabilities as a customer relationship management tool, used primarily to get a better understanding of customers and prospects, ThingTech allows organizations really to overcome these visibility, accountability, measurability, and performance challenges by doing things like providing extensible solutions to monitor and manage sales and service reps in real time, provide real-time insight into operations, improve appointment scheduling and verification of completed service or a sales visit, improve utilization of your existing field staff, and ultimately contribute to both the top and the bottom line for those organizations that we work with. So with that being said, I want to turn things over to Tim, who's going to kind of frame a little bit more in detail how this application works and go from there.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Dan. Welcome to this webinar. Just to reiterate what Dan said, just real brief on the marketing side. Ultimately, as Dan mentioned, we connect things. And believe it or not, the concept of a thing is actually a technical term. It's something out in the world that's generating data. It has location, usually has location associated with it. It has diagnostics. It can be turned on, it can be turned off. It has a state and a status, but that could be a piece of equipment. It could be a vehicle. It could be a power generator, or it could be a mobile phone that's connected to your field service or sales service staff. But we not only connect them, we also allow them to get smarter by doing some things with the device, with the things out in the world to give them intelligence so they can process data, potentially make decisions about themselves autonomously and independently in what we call, or what's called, the edge. So the world that we live in, and almost all of our customers also live in, is they have things out in the world. Those things are flying around. They're being operated. They're being utilized. And those things could be, like I mentioned, a piece of equipment, a vehicle, another asset. It could be inventory that's expensive that you just want to tag it with a Bluetooth tag so you know where it's at. Is it in the building or in the truck? It's also, there's a mobile workforce piece to that too. So we're blending these 2 components together, and we blend it into the Salesforce platform. So what we have done is built a connector into the Salesforce ecosystem. We are a Salesforce business partner. We're a ISV, and we're also on the App Exchange, which is the world's largest B2B business application exchange. We're also a Salesforce user. Everything we do in our internal operations is within Salesforce, both on the sales side as well as the service side. So we kind of practice what we preach. But what we really want to talk about today is really how do we connect all these things out in the world and bring that back to your CRM, to your sales cloud or your service cloud to give it more intelligence so you can make better decisions. And also ultimately connect your customers. So giving them insight into where things are in relation to where they should be, or how things are behaving, or how many pieces of equipment do I have on a construction site, and are those being utilized properly, or where's my sales reps today, and are they visiting customers, and can we verify that? How long were they at the customer site? What did they do? Are they operating the asset that you provided them effectively? How do we communicate with that mobile workforce in terms of giving them mobile app that allows them to really have all the data that we're going to view today in their palm, so that they can access things like accounts or contacts or work orders. They can also get help in navigating to those locations. Once they get to that location, how do they perform that job more effectively? How do they complete that job? And that job could be a task, it could be a case, or it could be a work order. They're all kind of very similar to us in terms of what needs to happen, but they all have something in common. They all have a geospatial attribute. They're somewhere out in the world, either with an address or a XY coordinate, and they tend to have time information associated with it, whether it's a time window or a time I need to be there, whatever that may be. There's a geospatial and a temporal component to the problems that we're solving. Now, the thing I want to mention is, just as a really, really quick overview, we have really 4 major components of our software suite. We're going to focus a lot today on ThingTech Real-Time, which has a plug-in or connector into Salesforce, as well as the mobile app that reflects what's on the web console that allows your field or sales service teams to really access data very effectively and very efficiently. We can extend this solution into what ThingTech Enterprise, which is an enterprise asset management solution for maintenance, materials, inspections of assets, and plug those in directly. Then we layer this on top of a layer of analytics, big data analytics, predictive analytics, historical time series data. So all the data we capture has a geospatial component, but it usually has a time component too, as I mentioned. So how do we look at that data, baseline that data over a period of time to start identifying trends, patterns, and anomalies so we can fix those potential issues. And again, these are the types of things that are out in the world, whether it's a truck, whether it's a forklift, a crane, field service delivery van, a sensor. It could be a asset tag where you're tagging assets with a Bluetooth tag that's reading it through a Bluetooth reader, bringing that data back to us to understand where that is at. So what we want to talk about is, very simply, is the concept of integrating Salesforce, the world's largest and most popular CRM, and integrating it with the Internet of Things, or the IoT, which is the term that is becoming very, very popular now. And very simply, we sit in the middle between the office, the back office, in this case, Salesforce and CRM. We sit in the middle, connected via an API, synchronizing the data back and forth. So pull accounts or contacts or cases or work orders or assets from Salesforce into ThingTech, capture data from multiple devices and sensors out in the world, whether that's a tag, a machine, a mobile device, a temperature sensor out in the world. We bring this data back over a wireless connection. That could be a Wi-Fi connection, Bluetooth connection. It could be many different types of wireless connections back to our gateway, but then we integrate it back into Salesforce. That could be the Sales Cloud, the Service Cloud, or Field Service Lightning, which is another product provided by Salesforce. And again, advanced analytics are layered throughout this entire process. It is location-based, it's geospatial-based. There's machine learning components to this, so as we collect more data, the smarter we get based on the data we're collecting. And by the way, we're collecting a lot of data, and we don't store the big data sets that we need to make these decisions in the Salesforce org. We keep that outside of Salesforce, but then integrate the data back when it's requested. So ultimately, we're trying to capture patterns and trends. And just as a FYI, we could be capturing thousands of pieces of data every minute from one asset. So the data can get very, very big, very fast. So we store that very effectively in our architecture. Now, many of you that are Salesforce users or thinking about purchasing Salesforce, this is the standard Salesforce interface. This is the classic view. Again, we have accounts, contacts, cases that we're managing just out of the box. Now, what our customers have asked us to do, and what we think the market is asking us to do, is how do we take these standard objects and connect them to the field and to the world, the physical world, in real time, so that we have a real-time view of who's at my account right now, or How long did they stay at that account? When did they enter? When did they exit the geofence around that account? How many times did I visit them? How am I behaving? How's the field service representative driving an asset or operating a piece of equipment? Well, that data needs to come back to your standard or custom objects via alerts, alarms, and other records that you may want to integrate into your standard Salesforce ecosystem and use all the tools that's available to you from Salesforce within your Salesforce org, such as the workflow rules, the alerts engine, the business process editor, the reporting tools, the dashboard tools, all the things that you're comfortable with, but leveraging the data we collect in your standard Salesforce platform. So if we look at kind of how do we do that? How do we go from here, connect this standard org? Well, we do that through what we call a connector. And this is simply a way to map standard objects or custom objects from Salesforce into the ThingTech real-time solution. So we expose every object that's in the current org, whether that's a standard object or a custom object, and we provide our users the tools to map those. When I say map the data. And if the data has a XY coordinate or an address, that becomes a mappable ThingX layer, what we call a ThingX layer, that we can map and then integrate it into the IoT platform for real-time connectivity to those assets. So we're giving context to your accounts, customers, cases, tasks, in some cases, work orders. We're giving context to that data through real-time data collection of things out in the world that you want to be aware of as it relates to your products or your services that you're delivering. When we look at now, when we look at the real-time component, this is simply we've connected. So we've connected. We pulled some data in, and this is a two-way sync, by the way. So whatever we collect here, we can also bring the data back into the Salesforce org. And now we have a reflection of the data that's in Salesforce mapped, and now it's collecting data. So now we have our map layers here, whether it's a customer, whether it's a work order, whether it's accounts, now connected to other things, whether these are mobile apps that are held by the field service staff, whether it's a GPS unit that's plugged into a vehicle or that you own and operate, whether it's a sensor or a tag that you're trying to tag inventory. That data now comes back to us in near real time. Below is a time series, so we can, as we collect data, we can see the time series. We can play that data back, and we can easily review data very effectively by specifying a time period and analyzing that data. So we're simply reflecting the data back and then giving our customers better visibility. We're giving them a better visualization tool. We're layering on the big data and analytics to help them make better decisions. And there's also a rules engine layered on top so that rules can be developed. So if this happens, then do this. We set thresholds and conditions about the assets or the things out in the world. As an example, if I'm supposed to be at an appointment at 1 o'clock and it's now 1:30, or if I'm a sales rep that's supposed to be at an appointment at 1 o'clock and it's now 1:45 and they've not entered that customer's location yet, please let me know about it so I can do something about it. Or if I have an asset that's failing, if the engine is very, very hot and I'm delivering products, please let me know about that so I can resolve that before that asset breaks down and those products do not get delivered to my customer. And then potentially connect your customers to that situation by texting them. I'm going to be a little bit late. There's an issue, whatever that may be. However you want to communicate, there's a connected customer capability built into the solution. Now, so we're going to provide visualization tools and geospatial tools, of course, where you can add any layers, ThingX layers, any map layers, such as weather, traffic, satellite, street view, you name it. And we're also going to provide tools to graph that data. So you can build a graphical representation of what's happening out in the world with those assets. It can be temperature related. In this case, this is speed related data that's graphed. So we can easily see that by time. but it's configurable and defined by our users. Obviously, there's a list view. So this is simply a tabular view of the data that I've connected to. Now this is giving me real-time information of what's going on out in the field right now. Again, we get events, we get the status, the state, and for those that need it, we also provide diagnostic data associated with the asset. I mean, diagnostic data is pulling data directly off of the engine to determine if there's any diagnostic trouble codes going on or things that need to be resolved. All that data is stored and analyzed in our system and presented back to the user in a very easy to understand fashion. And if we look at things like a tag, now these are tags that you just slap on a piece of equipment or inventory or a pallet that simply tells you where it is in relation to where it should be by connecting to an RFID reader. The RFID reader can be a hub that's installed in a facility, such as a warehouse, or it can simply be your smartphone using our smartphone app, because that smartphone also is a Bluetooth reader. So this is just another option for our users out in the field to understand where everything is. So we really want to reach out and touch everything. Now, at the end of the day, this is just a good example of, how do we get a 360-degree view of what's happened from the time. In this case, we picked up an asset, a refrigerated asset. What was it? How did it behave during the supply chain? Was it on? Was it off? What was the temperature? What was the humidity? What's the battery power, battery level? To the entire supply chain, when it's picked up, when it's dropped off, then that data can then be communicated to the connected customer. So we verify that it's been delivered or that the service is there. We can hold our staff accountable. We can get real-time notifications and alerts, both to our mobile phone as well as via email or to other connected customers. Everything we're doing is mobile ready, so we can also connect to the operator to alert them if there's an issue that we've identified. But all that data ultimately is going to come back into your Salesforce CRM in the Sales Cloud or the Service Cloud. Mobile is very important for the field and for your mobile workforce that does not necessarily come into the office. So this is simply our ThingX mobile app that allows field service staff or field sales staff to log in, get information, overlay things like accounts or contacts from Salesforce, tasks or cases, get work orders that are generated either through our solution or connected to another third-party work order management system, provides messaging. You can also provide route and navigation to the mobile workforce to let them know how to get to the location or get to the asset. Very simple, very easy to use, but it provides a real-time connectivity from the office to the field. This is, by the way, this is also where any push notifications or alarms are sent out to the appropriate people based on what they should be receiving data on. Now if we come back into the Salesforce org, so now we're looking at, obviously what's going on now in my Salesforce org. Well, all the data we've collected and managing here to here to here and here, massive amounts of data, we're now going to give that data back to the appropriate object in Salesforce, whether it's an account, a contact, a case, a task, to provide the information that we collected out in the field. Now that might be a picture that we've taken of an asset, or a picture of a work order that we've completed, or a note that we took on site. Whatever that may be, that's going to come back and it's going to be associated with the proper object in Salesforce. So now the real-time IoT data is captured, inserted into your Salesforce org. So now that you can use that platform as you and your Salesforce admins understand how to use. So we're going to leverage the real-time data. We're going to use the Salesforce platform tools, of course, such as the business process builder or the workflow rules. the approval processes. Yeah. Our customers can build any customer alerts and triggers on the data that's being collected. And I should mention the data that we're collecting can come in as fast as every 15 seconds. Normally it's set at 1 minute, 1 to 2 minutes, but that data can be collected at the 15-second interval if needed. But what that gives our customers is integration of geolocation data and IoT sensor data, and ties that back to their accounts, contacts, and customers out in the field. That provides the platform for creating a very effective connected customer strategy. It also allows our customers to have a stronger command and control process operationally of where their things are right now out in the field, and how can I make sure that we're deploying those assets, either a piece of equipment, vehicle, tool, or a mobile worker. How are we utilizing them the most effectively to improve customer service, reduce our costs, maybe increase our revenues by doing more with less, creating potential new business models or new revenue streams, is what we're seeing some of our customers generating. But ultimately, it's going to create a more connected customer. And giving an example, so this is the type of data that would come back to this is the Salesforce Lightning view, the newer user interface. To the left is simply a report on how many times a park maintenance staff entered or exited a geofence. And what they want to understand is get trends and patterns of where are we maintaining our customers the most effectively by department. So you can see not only who entered and exited, you can also see the duration of how long they stayed at each site. So imagine you having all your customers geofenced automatically and having absolutely verifiable insight into who's there, who was there, how long did they stay there, excuse me, and all the other things associated with that, such as behavior, driver behavior, operator behavior, safety, work orders completed, when were they completed. So there's a whole package associated with our solution that can be plugged into Salesforce, so you can take advantage of the data that you're collecting through the IoT. And to reiterate, that data, which is big, massive amount of data, is stored in our database. We only give the data to Salesforce that's required, the exceptions, the alerts, the notifications. If you need the big data, you can pull that in, but we're trying to streamline that from a data storage perspective. Kind of a separate topic, so is the solution we're discussing, the ThingTech real-time IoT application, can be plugged into any standard Salesforce org that's using the Sales Cloud or the Service Cloud. If you have business needs or requirements to really go much deeper from an enterprise asset management solution, you can plug in our enterprise asset management software package built on the Force.com platform to really go deep into work order optimization, work order maintenance, inspections, parts and inventory, capital replacement plans, and asset analytics, and other tangential things such as cost center management, incidents and accidents, tire management, fuel management. So it's a very extensible platform based on your business requirements. Very straightforward. Again, just to kind of summarize, what I want to mention is, simply connect to your Salesforce org through the connectors, bring map data in, map the data that you're interested in viewing, seeing, and connecting to real-time devices or sensors, analyze that data, put rules on that data, location or geospatial geofences or locations, other things that that you might need to understand about where things are in relation where they should be, analyze it, and then pull it back into your Salesforce platform for your internal business processes, workflows, alerts, approval processes, and sales and service requirements. That's very simple, very easily. I'm going to turn it back over to Dan. That's the short and simple explanation of how to easily connect your Salesforce org to a real-time IoT solution to really gain valuable insight into your operations. Dan?
Thank you, Tim. We have a few questions from the audience that I'd like to bring up. I'm kind of consolidating a couple questions here, but there's a couple of folks on the call today. Sounds like they operate varying levels of field service type of organizations, from companies that, for example, would go out and service medical device equipment to companies that are maybe in the landscaping space. The question is basically, could you give one or two examples of how customers are leveraging this connected IoT tool with Salesforce today, and some of the results that they've seen from leveraging that connected application?
So absolutely. So we'll take a really very large customer, AB InBev, which is Budweiser and Corona, Grupo and Modelo. They implemented this solution last year, and really their business requirements were they needed better insight into where their field delivery and field service folks were located in relation to where they should be. And they needed two things. They needed that data so that their the customer support representatives, the CSRs, when they get phone calls, could have quick insight of where the beer was. Was it on the way? Is it at the site? Whatever it may be. That was kind of the connected customer piece. Now, from a operational perspective, the other thing that we did, since we're connected to the asset, in this case, the engine, and assets being a forklift, being a distribution vehicle, being a light duty vehicle, supervisory vehicle, what they needed was to drive their preventive maintenance schedules based on the odometer reading directly from the engine or the hours directly from the asset. So we were able to pull data in to get that information to automate entirely their preventive maintenance program. That's for a very, very large customer. If we look at other customers that, such as Arbor Atlanta, which is a tree construction and cleanup organization after storms and maintenance and really around the landscape, they needed to have real-time understanding of not only how their assets being utilized, but also how to get to the assets most effectively and have insight to where their crews are during times of emergencies was a big driver for them. So they went from having really zero insight or visibility into operations to having really 360-degree or 100% insight and visibility and accountability where their assets were and the mobile workforce was in relation where they should be, and in relation where they should be that they're looking for is their customers. So in the AB InBev case, one of the metrics was the reduction of 17% of labor costs, which is very significant simply by automating processes. That was in the ROI or the cost savings there is in the millions of dollars a year per zone. In the smaller, say, Arbor Atlanta, they're doing 20 to 25% more work per day simply by planning and deploying their assets more effectively. So those are kind of some mid-sized customers to a very, very large customer, but it's going to range in between those numbers.
Great, thanks, Tim. And I think this kind of ties in really nicely to the next question that came in. It sounds like we have a couple varying sizes of organizations that are attending today's webinar. So could you talk a little bit about sort of the scalability of ThingTech, whether this works well primarily for the enterprise, for small to medium businesses? Where's kind of the sweet spot, and how does ThingTech scale up, scale down, depending on those types of organizations?
Very good. That's a good question. So the application can be very, very simple. It can go from a very simple mobile phone solution only all the way up to a very complex connected asset where there's multiple sensors, multiple potential devices, multiple things that got to connect to a device within a vehicle or in the warehouse. So it can scale very easily, say, for an organization that has, let's say 20 assets and 30 field, a mobile workforce, 30 field service staff, simply collecting location data based off their cell phone. We can do many of the things we're discussing during this webinar in terms of where are they where they're supposed to be, how long do they stay there, when do they enter, when do they exit. All the location-based feature functionality can be easily deployed very simply by collecting the location and the data from the mobile device. That makes it very, very easy. It's plug and play. You simply connect, download the app, connect, and you're pretty much doing many of the things that we're discussing here. If you're a large organization, you have a little more complex business requirements, and you're really, really asset intensive. When I mean asset intensive, your equipment or your assets have to be available. They have to be up and running, or you don't make money. So just think of a construction site, a construction company, a landscaping company, a utility. If that's the case and your diagnostic related data is very important to you as it relates to how the asset's performing, we can plug in sensors into the asset directly to capture that type of data, diagnostic data directly off the engine. So we can do predictive analytics on failures, or asset health monitoring is what we call that particular use case. So it's really a function of how complex your assets are that you maintain and manage, and how much data your business needs in terms of improving decision making, or getting access to data, accelerating access to data, automating work processes, engaging other stakeholders such as your customers or your partners. But it's very, very easy to get started for small to medium-sized businesses, but then scale up as you need to scale up. So, for instance, a smaller system may not need a full-blown analytics package, but as they grow, and as they go from 20 assets to 100 assets to 500 assets, they may want to layer that in the next 2, 3, 5 years. So the package has been designed to be very scalable for what we call the SMB, the small, medium-sized businesses, all the way up to the enterprise. The AB InBevs of the world, the Coca-Colas of the world, Home Depots, you name it, is what we kind of consider the enterprise level folks. They have thousands and thousands of assets.
Great. Tim, one more question for you. This question came from one of the members of the audience, but it sounds like ThingTech manages a lot of different kind of business use cases and solves for a lot of different challenges. How do you engage with companies who may be interested in exploring IoT technologies and the applicability within their own business? How do you recommend that they get started and kind of begin down that path?
Well, okay, I'm gonna put my sales and marketing hat on, Dan, but and this is the truthful answer. I mean, I think it starts with just a quick discovery call of what are your challenges now. What are the problems that are causing you issues inside your business, and what challenges and what business problems do you have where real-time insight and visibility of where your things are in relation to where they should be and how they're performing how important are those to your business? And that's going to start, I believe, it's a simple discovery call with, asking the right questions and, asking the right, trying to drill down to the use cases, and then trying to figure out and really make a decision on, is the ROI, is the value there for a business to make the investment in this type of solution. So the short answer is to follow up, shoot us an email, shoot Dan an email, schedule a discovery call, and let us ask some questions and try to help you and partner with you to figure out what the value could be. And hopefully we're honest in our approach, and if we think we're a good fit, we can make some recommendations. If we think we can add value, I think we just need to say that out loud and be comfortable in saying that out loud.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Tim. And we'd absolutely be happy to have that conversation with anyone on the call today, or anyone out there that may be exploring sort of initial IoT solutions, and how that applies to your specific business, because you're absolutely correct. There's a wide variety of applicability of this type of technology in a variety of different use cases across different industries and different organizations. So my kind of feedback there is, if you are having pains in one of those specific areas that we kind of talked about at the beginning of the call, whether that's visibility in your operations, accountability for your field operations, you need to be able to better measure how you're performing at the end of the day, then it's worthy of a conversation, and we'd love to have that conversation. We have consultants here standing by ready to assist you. So just to kind of quickly recap today's call, today we really focused and discussed on ThingTech's extensible platform for Salesforce that ultimately combines real-time IoT and geospatial IoT applications with the capabilities of field service automation to really help companies better perform and delight their customers at the end of the day. Again, the challenges that we help those companies overcome are challenges with visibility, accountability, measurability, and performance. Some of the applicability that we discussed across a variety of different use cases around being able to better monitor and manage your day-to-day operations, your field reps, whether those are sales or service reps, your assets that are out in the field, and provide real-time insight into your operations. So again, we want to thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to join us today. Strongly encourage you to follow up if this resonates with you and your organization, and we look forward to having a conversation with y'all all in the future. So thank you for your time.